All right, hi guys. So I think we are all FRF members. Is that right? All right. So question then to start us off. What's the secret to fat loss? What do we know? Put it into a short sentence.
Calorie counting stuff.
Calorie counting, okay. No ideas?
Calorie counting and exercise.
Exercise helps as well, definitely. Okay, so basically to sum it up, to lose fat, we need a calorie deficit. Heard of a calorie deficit?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's one of those things that it's simple to say, but difficult to do, isn't it? I'm going to see if I can turn that music down. No? Okay, I'll speak louder then. So of course, if it were easy, everyone would be slim. And there's a difference between knowing the right things to do and actually being able to do them, isn't there? And actually, if you think about it, being overweight or obese is a reasonable response. Like in the world we live in, if you think about offices, convenience food, cars. So if you find this stuff difficult, you're not alone, and no judgment here. So I'm going to speak for a few minutes just to kind of cover a few basic points. But then we'll move into some discussion questions and kind of really focus on those real life changes, so making it as sustainable as possible. Okay, so obviously there's a very big diet industry out there. The internet's an amazing place, but there's a lot of misinformation. And I'm not 100% sure what you all guys know. So I'm going to cover a few kind of basic things just to get us all on the same page. So your body weight is decided by the energy you take in from food and drink, and the energy that you use. They're making me work, aren't they? And then we use energy actually just by existing, so breathing, basic body functions, movement and exercise as well. And all of that energy is measured in calories. So if we take in more energy than we use, we gain weight. And if we take in less energy than we use, we lose weight. There's a lot more I could talk about around that. So most of the energy we use actually comes from those basic bodily functions rather than exercise. So for that reason, eating less is far more efficient than trying to kind of use those calories through exercise. And also there's a lot you can do to help your body prioritise fat loss rather than muscle loss. So things like eating enough protein come into that. But for now, if we kind of focus on that basic concept, so calories in, calories out, and if you eat less than you burn, over time, you will lose fat. And in some ways, this is really freeing. As long as you achieve that calorie deficit, it kind of doesn't matter how you do it. We've got a few options just on the slide there. Obviously, some diet programs are going to be healthier than others. But then if everyone is different, so if there's a particular program that fits your preferences, your routine, then by all means use it. And discussion question now, does anybody have a diet program that they've had success with? Or would anyone like to sort of share experiences they've had that have been not so good maybe?
I lost 50 pounds with Weight Watchers and got down to my goal. And it was good. And it was, this is the first I've always been interested in food. I think my big problem is my husband is a big man, he's 6'2", and his resting metabolic rate is 2,000 calories a day. So he's 2,000 calories just to lie in bed.
Yeah.
I'm by contrast, not like that. So I've had to learn not to eat the same way as him, and that's been a big thing over our married life. But Weight Watchers worked for me, and as I say, I lost 50 pounds.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was
Yeah. Do you want to stand up and give the talk now?
I've got some of it back on again, I'm going to say that. But nothing near, and I had to if anyone's seen Gone with the Wind, there's a bit where she says, as God is my witness, I'll never be poor again. And I have as God is my witness, I'm never going to be 14 stone again, and I'm not anywhere near that. So, yeah, but Weight Watchers was the thing that got me through.
Yeah, oh, well done, that's amazing. And like a lot of people have success with Slimming World, with keto diet, any of these. And if that works for you, then then it works. Of course, sustainability is a big thing. So as you say, keeping the weight off, amazing. So it's being able to kind of keep going with it. And if a diet program works, it's always because it's created that calorie deficit in one way or another. So I like counting calories as a strategy because it just brings it back to those real numbers. But things like portion control, just eating to 80% full, reducing snacks, if you're not quite ready to get your head around those numbers, that can all have the same effect. Equally, if you can get to grips with calories, it's a really valuable tool. Knowing the number of calories you can have each day, it kind of gives you the freedom to spend them how you wish. It's like having a budget with your money. Ideally, healthy food most of the time is going to help you feel good, but you've then got the flexibility to enjoy yourself sometimes without necessarily going over that budget. Does anyone calorie count already? Yeah? Fabulous. And does anybody have a particular app that they like? What are your favourites?
My fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah? Nice. NutriCheck? Anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? Fab. Chronometer? Nobody's heard of that one. It's my favourite. So I went plant-based nearly 4 years ago now, and it has vitamins and minerals in there. So it really helped me to kind of meet my iron and my B12 and stuff like that. Chronometer. I think, yeah, it's on the slide, and I will put this up on the Facebook group afterwards. Yeah. But yeah, MyFitnessPal, good one to start with because it's free of charge. Once you start logging, it's quite good at remembering your favourites. So like once you've got a few days in, it's a lot less time consuming to kind of keep logging. As I said, Chronometer's good if you want more detailed breakdowns of vitamins and things. NutriCheck, I have found, is by far the easiest to use. It does cost a bit for a subscription. But I can see Belinda nodding at the back there. It's the best app is the one that you will actually use, isn't it? And you know, I don't always log, I'll be honest, but NutriCheck is the one I use the most, just because it's so quick and easy to do. And yeah, with any of these, once you're set up, big red flag here, don't use the calorie targets they give you, okay? Instead, go to the Awesome Supplements website. They have a calculator on there that is the most accurate of any I've seen. You get so many different calculators online, and so many of them are far too low. So you try and stick to that, and you just end up binging because it's starvation, some of them. So Awesome Supplements, really highly recommend that. I will put the link on the community page after this. There'll be the recording up as well. So once you've chosen your app, you set your targets, spend some time just playing around with it. Have a look at the labels on the foods that you eat regularly, try logging a typical day maybe. So a lot of us are quite routine in what we eat. Rather than logging like chicken sandwich, for example, try and put in your bread, your chicken and whatever separately, because a lot of the time you get like some other person has just like entered chicken sandwich, they put that in the database, it's not necessarily going to be totally accurate for you, so try and just sort of break things down as much as you can. With weighing and measuring things, I tend to focus on the higher calorie foods. So what by that, I mean don't weigh your lettuce. That would be really depressing. If you're going to weigh and measure things, things like nuts, oils, butter, things like pasta and rice, be as accurate as you can with those, but fruit and vegetables, it's fine just to guess. Like you want to be eating plenty of those things anyway. So it's about thinking where you're focusing your effort. You know, if you're weighing your lettuce, that's a lot of effort for something that's not going to give you a great deal of benefit. Yeah, and finally, don't feel you have to log every single day. Again, many of us are quite routine, often just a couple of days a week is enough. Just be aware, if you eat differently at weekends, maybe like a weekday and a weekend day, sometimes can be good. Okay, can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Fab. All right. So I've just given you a lot of information about how and what to do, but it's about making it sustainable. This is kind of the bit I'm most interested in. So what I'd like you guys to do now is just talk to each other for a couple of minutes, maybe in pairs or threes, and just have a chat about what the barriers are for you, what makes it difficult. We've got some ideas on the slide there, just some broad categories. But yeah, have a chat and yeah, let's see what we can come up with. All right, so yeah, some really good discussions going on. The point I tend to come back to is that a calorie deficit is actually not an ideal state for our bodies. So it's like a necessary evil. It's going to get us to the point where we are healthy, but in the short term, it's going to result in a drop in mood, we're going to have a bit less energy, we're going to feel a bit more hungry. So it's kind of, firstly, it's about accepting that little bit of discomfort, which is not necessarily easy. And then once we're there and we're ready, just working out ways to make that more comfortable for ourselves. And that's kind of working on emotions and also getting the physical stuff right as well. So, a few strategies here. Just a few, because we could talk about this all day. Firstly, I would always suggest having some kind of a structure to your eating. So that could be 3 meals a day with snacks, that's me, I like to eat often. If you like 2 big meals, or if you like intermittent fasting, that's absolutely fine as well. But ideally, set some times when you're going to eat. So if you feel hungry, you've got that end point in sight. So if I have my lunch at 12 and I feel hungry at 1:30, I know I'm going to have a snack at 3 o'clock and I've just got to hold out until then. So you kind of get into a bit of a rhythm with it. Secondly, choosing minimally processed foods and high fibre stuff as well is going to help keep you feeling full. So examples of that is cooking from scratch as much as possible, having baked or boiled potatoes rather than chips, whole grains instead of white carbs, and plenty of fruit and vegetables. Equally, don't eat stuff you hate, so it's important to look forward to your meals as well. You can change your taste buds over time, so you can learn to like new foods, but take your time. It's about being comfortable. And finally, apply the 80-20 rule. So as long as you're mostly making good choices, it's really good, I think, to include some planned treats and just making them worth the calories. Anyone watch Bake Off? Yeah? So Prue Leith says it a lot, and I love it because it's about being picky. It's about only eating the unhealthy stuff that you really love, rather than, I'm just going to have a biscuit because it's there, or I'm going to eat something from this buffet because, my mother-in-law's offered it to me, whatever. So don't waste your calorie budget on something that's kind of okay. Then, inevitably, even with all these strategies, things will sometimes get difficult for all those reasons that we were talking about earlier. So, some of you have got families to look after, some of you just feel uncomfortable. You get to the end of a long day at work, it's hard to stick with those goals. So your first kind of tool there is just awareness. Be aware if that discomfort is becoming really unmanageable. And just think course corrections. So if you need to add a few calories to that budget just to keep yourself on track and avoid a binge later on, then do it. But then equally, discomfort tolerance is something to work on as well. So just learning to kind of sit with that feeling of hunger, just delay that eating. And it's a healthy thing just to be able to say no sometimes, difficult as that may be. Controlling your environment can be really helpful. So if you can remove the option to overeat, like that's brilliant. So I'm going to use one of Adam's examples now. So Adam's been working on fat loss. Sometimes he will give me his wallet before he goes to work so that he can't spend money on food, and I do have his permission to share that. So if you feel that urge to kind of eat something you haven't planned for, like try to delay it, because often that hunger will go away. Our hormones go in cycles through the days, and you know there are certain hormones that switch on hunger and switch on fullness, etc. So sometimes it's just kind of sitting through that cycle, give it 20 minutes or so, and that urge might well go away. Plus, it's a lot easier mentally to think, I'm just going to not eat chocolate for 20 minutes than it is to be, I'm never going to eat chocolate again. And if you're really struggling as well, there are some kind of magic craving busters. Not something to rely on necessarily, but things like diet fizzy drinks, things like 10-calorie jelly, like they're not health foods, but if it's either that or a cupcake, then you know, it's just something else, just another tool that you can have. And then possibly the most important one, find ways to be really kind and gentle to yourself. So, you know, whatever you do, meditation, stretching, just sitting on the sofa with a DVD, you know, just be aware that during that time when you are in that deficit, it's just, you know, you're going to be a little bit more fragile, you're going to be a bit more emotional maybe, so just, you know, take care of yourself. So, what I'd like you to do now is, again, have a chat with the person next to you about any of that, but particularly strategies for managing stress and how you kind of take care of yourself when things feel difficult. Okay, some really nice chats going on. Is anyone comfortable sharing anything with the group from what they've talked about? Anyone like to?
What was the question?
Would anyone like to sort of share anything they've been talking about with the group, or we save it for the Q&A maybe?
We said that the gym was a good stress buster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just walking in nature, I think that is massive. Just having some green works.
Yeah, getting outside, definitely. Cool. Okay. Right, so just bringing it back to kind of the physical stuff and the top tips, we're just going to sort of cover off some healthy kind of general behaviours, things to get right in terms of your food and your exercise. So these things, again, bringing it back to that calorie deficit, these things are not going to lead to weight loss in themselves, but they're going to kind of indirectly help the process in lots of ways. So protein, really important one. On my Facebook and things, I often use the hashtag protein chat because it just comes up all the time. It seems like everyone here wants to talk about protein. So in a deficit, you will inevitably lose a little bit of muscle along with the fat, but protein will minimise that. And for that reason, your protein needs are actually higher when you're losing fat, which I always think is unfair because you've got fewer calories to play with. But there we go. So it's worth, again, just play around with the apps, find the best protein sources. Something that really winds me up is when you see online people talking about peanut butter as a high protein food. It's got a lot of fat, it's not a lot of protein. So really look for those ones that are like bang for your buck. So lots of protein per 100 calories, for example. That's things like chicken breast, tuna, tofu, fat-free Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and most people will probably need a protein supplement as well. We can talk more about those. I love baking with protein powder. A lot of people here use them. But think of them like a food ingredient. They're a really convenient way to meet your protein needs without having to spend hours and hours cooking lots of chicken breast or something. So really popular topic there, we can go back into that. Vegetables and fruit, I've mentioned earlier, but filling up with big portions of vegetables. This will make your meals more satisfying, and it'll help you avoid sort of vitamin deficiencies, which is then going to help your energy levels. Fruit is also good, particularly berries, because they're so low in sugar. Just be aware with things like apples and bananas, slightly higher in sugar, so you might want to just log those just a little bit more carefully. Water, hydration, again this just keeps your body functioning generally well. It's going to improve your energy levels. If you're working out, if you're sweating a lot, then potentially an electrolyte drink as well. It's just going to help balance the minerals in your body along with the fluid. Exercise will burn calories, but mostly it's about helping you to improve your fitness and hold on to that muscle mass. So aiming to include some strength training a few times a week. If you come to FRF, you're sorted because we have a good balance of kind of strength and cardio as well. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Who's heard of that? Brilliant. So that's just a fancy way of saying movement through the day. So, for example, getting your 10,000 steps in is a great start, but the more you move, the better. And that actually makes a bigger difference to your overall calorie burn than just doing like 1 hour of structured exercise. So movement through the day. And then, just before we move into our Q&A, so I am FRF's kind of resident nutritionist, if you like. I've got various programs available. FRF members all get 20% off their first one. So do talk to me at the end if that's something you're interested in. But equally, I'm really keen to kind of help the whole community as much as possible. So going forward, I know some of you have been to the casual breakfast clubs before. That is going to be replaced with a more kind of structured workshop once a month. So the idea is you can come along, you can check in, just get feedback on any in-body results, and just have a little bit more accountability, and that's all included in your membership. Now that is available if you're working on fat loss, but also for anyone watching, if you're interested in kind of muscle gain, athletic performance, so it's for any goal, but it's just a kind of a monthly accountability support group. And this will be, we're looking at 11 o'clock on Sundays, just provisionally, because that means we'll be able to use upstairs and it will be a little bit quieter than kind of competing with the sessions in here, as we've done before. Okay, and I think, yeah, my contact details up there. I think that's my bit done. So if we move into our Q&A, or if there's anything anyone would like to kind of revisit or talk about. You get that awkward silence.
I've got a question. So I do intermittent fasting on the days I don't go to the gym. Well, I want to do it on the days that I do go to the gym. Mm-hmm. But I can't get a full 14 hours if I eat straight after. So I do the 7 o'clock gym session. Yeah. So I don't want to eat straight afterwards, but I feel like I should. Is it okay not to eat after a session?
It's an interesting one for women, that, because I mean I know I said earlier intermittent fasting is kind of, you know, if it works, it works. For women though, I would suggest eating something before and after your workout if at all possible, just because we can be quite sensitive to that calorie deficit. If we get too far into that hole, it can just kind of mess up your hormones a little bit. So yeah, ideally if you can eat after the session, but then, you know, even if you get like a 12-hour window.
Yeah.
You know, that's
fasting, but I can't fast before a training session. I found that when I did, I had that, you know, getting all lightheaded, passing out, throwing up, and all that. So I had to have something before I cut, just like some kimchi or something, you know, just, you know, the yogurt, something like that, handful of nuts, but I have to have something before I train.
Yeah, see, I feel alright if I train fasted training, but it's just how quickly I have to eat afterwards, because I'm always, you know, not sure about, because some people eat something like glycogen afterwards.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
half an hour?
there's not sort of a window as such. Ideally, you want to eat something within an hour or so after you've trained, just like optimally.
Yeah.
I mean, you could play with having different things, so you don't necessarily have to have the full balanced meal. Just see how you get on with just a protein shake, maybe,
Yeah.
because that's what's going to help you kind of hold on to that muscle mass as well.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Similar to the same subject, really. I've only just joined actually. I'm starting hopefully next week.
Nice.
But I probably would train about 8 in the morning till 9. And as a bloke, whether it's different to the ladies, I don't know. But what should I eat before when I get up and when I come here? What should I eat? How long should it be before I train after I've eaten?
Yeah. What time are you getting up?
Probably 6:30 to 7. So let's say I've got up at 6:30 and wants to be here for 8.
Yeah. So eating something sort of within.
And I'm one of those people,
an
if I
hour.
get hungry, like a friend here, I get weak and wobbly and sort of almost anxious feelings, I know I need to have food inside to
Yeah.
train, definitely. But
So-
I don't know what, it's this question that never seems to be a proper answer to what should we eat for breakfast, especially if we're going to go out and be
Yeah.
active.
So with morning training, it's a little bit interesting because obviously there's that digestion factor. Like you don't want to be feeling a little bit ill in your workout. I mean, I train in the morning. I find just something like a banana.
Just something light.
Yeah, just something like small bowl of porridge, some berries
I
if
do
you
eat,
can handle it.
Nuts and yogurt and that type of thing.
Yeah.
My husband eats before he trains as well, and he has porridge with berries in. Frozen berries are nice because you warm up the porridge and they cook in that. And a dollop of full fat Greek yogurt.
I suppose you could smoothie it as well.
Could do, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
Overnight
you've
oats.
got Overnight oats, yeah, that's what he has really. Because you've got, it's a
So you
slow
soak them
release.
the night before.
Yeah, you've got a bit of protein from the Greek yogurt.
Oh, cool.
And roughage, as we used to call it, from the veg, from the fruit. So yeah.
And full
he
English
has that.
afterwards.
Cool. Well, if we're all kind of happy then, I mean, do come up and talk to me individually. Sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating, kind of sharing in a big group and everything. So yeah, I'll be hanging around for a few minutes. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.